America's flagship train is getting an upgrade. Meet the Amtrak Avelia Liberty, the next generation of Acela high-speed train to operate on the bustling Northeast Corridor between Washington DC, New York City and Boston. I'll be taking you on a 7-hour trip along the entire route in first class, showing you the revolutions, high speed, well, part of the way at least, and problems of the new fastest train on the American continent. Now join me as the journey continues. Our journey starts at Washington DC's Union Station at, well, near the crack of dawn. Opened in 1907, this is without a doubt one of the United States' most beautiful stations, and those of you who have watched some of my Italian videos may recognise this station, as the design was used as an inspiration for Milano Centrale, but as much as I'd like to go back to Italy, we have an important train to catch here in the US. The inside of the station is just as pleasant to see as the exterior building, with this even extending to some of the many shops you can find in the station. That being said, the closer you get to the platforms, the more run down the station becomes, which makes it slightly more depressing than it needs to be. Still, it does the job, and the reason we're here in the first place is plastered all around Union Station, from the banners to the models at the main ticket office, though I already bought my ticket online for this trip. We'll be catching Acela 2154 this morning, the very early 0650 departure to Boston, though as you can see the track hasn't been announced yet. Not to worry though, as we have access to the Amtrak Metropolitan Lounge here at Union Station, which is just by the platform entrance. On the Acela, only first class tickets grant access, so business class tickets, the lower offering, means you'll have to pay to enter the lounge if you want to use it, or make use of the queue here if you prefer to save your money.
Morning, you okay? Give me a second.
Sure, you take your time.
I'm on the 6:55.
Alright, we'll board 20 minutes prior.
Okay, thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.
The lounge here was recently refurbished a few years back and it looks absolutely fantastic. All the food and drink here is included in the access, and whilst I don't drink coffee, I'm quite curious about the Acela blend. Have you tried it before? I didn't get too much at the moment as I'll be having breakfast on the train and it's 20 minutes before departure, meaning it's time to board. First class passengers get priority boarding from the lounge, and just as well, I'm really excited for what's to come. Standing before us is the fastest train on the entire American continent, the Amtrak NextGen Acela. 28 of these 9-car sets are being built by French manufacturer Alstom in upstate New York for Amtrak, and are marketed as the Avelia Liberty, the first variant of Alstom's new Avelia platform, which is the basis for the French TGV-M being procured for numerous European operators. The next-gen Acela therefore features a similar construction profile, with a power car at each end and carriages with articulated Jacobs bogies. However, the carriages are single-level, derived from the AGV used in Italy, and like the first-generation Acela, feature a tilting mechanism, hence the infamous gap between the coaches and power cars. The design speed of the new Acela is 220 miles per hour, however, the tilting mechanism restricts this to 186 miles per hour, and infrastructure on the Northeast Corridor further limits this to 160 miles per hour. The main aim of the new Acela is to replace the original 25-year-old Acela sets that were also derived from TGV technology, as well as Bombardier's LRC coaches used in Canada, which are almost life expired, and from my last visit to the US in 2024 and my arrival into Washington the previous day, these are in a rather sorry state, resulting from the new sets being repetitively delayed in entering service, the first 5 entering service in August 2025, 2 months prior to this recording. The new Acela can seat up to 386 passengers across both business and first, a 28% increase in capacity over the old Acela's capacity of 304, though the shorter length of the cars means it isn't much longer than the old Acela, as you can see. I'm in first class for this trip, which is the rearmost carriage towards Washington and indicated by the red door. One noticeable improvement with the new Acela is that each carriage has a gap filler, providing true level boarding onto the train at most stations along the Northeast Corridor, something that was severely lacking on the old trains.
Thank you.
Another immediate improvement can be seen entering first class. The old Acela felt run down and stuck in the 90s, which isn't a good look for Amtrak's most premium product. The new Acela's onboard ambience is a positive change to this and from the outset looks fantastic. Seating is in a 2x1 configuration with most of the airline seats, but a few table seats too. I do have to be a bit negative here in that the window alignment isn't particularly great. Row 1 for example at the very rear is definitely to be avoided. Since I last rode the Acela, Amtrak thankfully allow you to select your seat when booking as opposed to after, and I selected 2A, a solo forward-facing window seat with a great view. This morning, we'll be travelling north across 8 states, the midway point of the trip being New York City after around 3 hours. After this, we continue north towards Boston with an expected arrival time of 13:55. Our Acela taking 7 hours and 5 minutes to cover a distance of 457 miles or 736 kilometers. We depart Washington DC on time, ready to head northbound. Immediately after leaving DC, the onboard service began after ticket checks took place. I started off with an orange juice and was also given a bottle of Fiji water just before departure. Very premium. Acela 2154 is one of the slower runs the Acela makes on the Northeast Corridor, meaning we call up more stations on the portion between Washington DC and New York. That being said, this half of the Northeast Corridor is the faster of the two we'll be taking today, and we're already topping out at 120 miles per hour, and it's immediately noticeable how much smoother the NextGen Acela is compared to the first generation. Around 20 minutes later, as daybreak draws near, we arrive into BWI Thurgood Marshall Airport in the state of Maryland, being one of the few airports in the United States to be connected to the main railway system. Breakfast is then served shortly after departure, and I went with a fruit salad. I definitely think that Amtrak's offerings and presentation have improved since I last tried first class on the Acela the year before, which is great to see. I was almost finished by the time we arrived into Baltimore's Penn Station, and with that, now's a good time to properly check out the interior here in first class. Let's start with the seat, which whilst not as comfortable as the old Acela is still pretty great for a new train. The padding is great and the winged headrest is also very comfortable, ideal for the 7-hour journey up to Boston. Legroom is also great in first class, with plenty of space to stretch out, even more so than the older Acela as the footrest is in a better position when folded away. This does however bring me on to one of the biggest disappointments, the recline. This is automatic and operated using the button on the aisle side armrest, but this is as far as it goes. Definitely a downgrade to the old Gen Acela. That being said, I do like how the tray tables are a lot easier to operate now. They're even extendable too and feature cup holders that can be extended out whilst the main table is folded away, though sadly this wasn't a great fit for my Fiji water bottle. Each seat has 2 standard US power sockets in addition to 2 USB-A sockets due to these trains already being 4 to 5 years old, but thankfully Amtrak have put in USB-C adapters into these, which is a nice compromise. The seat's headrest has a conveniently located reading light, and finally there's a draw-down window blind which blocks out the view if you need to for whatever reason. So a downgrade to the older Acela in terms of overall seat comfort, but amenities wise it's still a huge improvement. Definitely considering Amtrak's flagship product before this has been stuck in the 20th century basically since it was introduced. After Baltimore, we reach one of my favourite parts of the corridor as we cross over the various rivers in the state of Maryland. But if that's not your thing, you could always enjoy the fast free Wi-Fi too. This is relatively easy to connect to, and for all the things that can be said about Amtrak, their Wi-Fi is one of the best I've ever tried on a train. a good strong connection throughout the trip, allowing me to catch up on social media or watch everyone's favourite YouTuber. We're now arriving into Wilmington, Delaware, which is where former President Joe Biden would travel by train to Washington, DC. After leaving here, we can see Amtrak's workshop just west of the station, where several HHP-8 locomotives are awaiting conversion to cab cars for use on the Northeast Regional, and several older Acelas are seen on standby, one even wearing an advertising vinyl for the Workday software platform. This section also highlights the curvy nature of the Northeast Corridor, with tilting trains like ours being able to take these corners faster without reducing comfort. One of the primary reasons Alstom won the contract for the new Acelas is that they're one of the few manufacturers specialising in high-speed tilting trains. The Avelia Liberty features what Alstom calls a tiltronic system, which allows them to tilt more than the older Acela, hence the massive gap between the trailer coaches and the power cars. Yeah, it looks out of place, but I think it's justified here. Our next stop is Philadelphia's 30th Street Station, the largest city in the state of Pennsylvania and the 6th largest in the United States as a whole. Just outside of the station is Penn Coach Yard, and I'm sure you'll agree that passing the yard full of new Acelas on a new Acela is probably one of the most satisfying experiences on US Rail at the moment. Double points as well for spotting the new Amtrak Cascades Aero set on test too.
Number 6, Cafe Acela is open and ready for service.
Another satisfying yet frustrating experience happens as we enter the state of New Jersey, one of the fastest segments of our trip today, and where our new Acela reaches 160 miles per hour on a short section between South Brunswick and New Brunswick. This is not only the result of infrastructure upgrades completed in 2022, but also the improved design of the new Acela for higher speeds than what they're replacing. Not to worry though, we'll get other opportunities on this trip to see it again. The only stop we make in New Jersey is its most populous city, Newark, after which we cross the dock bridge over the Passaic River with full sights set on New York City. Before entering the tunnels into New York City, we can catch a glimpse of the progress on the Portal North Bridge, which was only largely complete at the time. Since this trip, the bridge officially opened for passenger traffic on March 13th, a few days ahead of schedule. A move pushed by problems with the catenary poles on the 116-year-old Portal Bridge we're on now. With a faster speed and higher altitude to accommodate maritime traffic, this removes what was previously a major bottleneck on the Northeast Corridor, but that won't stop us from heading into the Hudson River tunnels and into New York City's Penn Station. This is seen as the midway point of the Northeast Corridor and is the busiest railway station in North America, as evidenced by basically everyone in my carriage leaving the train here. The Washington to New York section is the Acela's most popular route, and a significantly lower, yet respectable passenger amount joins our train for the final section up to Boston, the reason for which we'll see very shortly. For now though, getting off to stretch my legs on the 10-minute wait isn't a bad idea, as well as top up on Fiji water with the onboard service. We emerge from Penn Station in Sunnyside, Queens, one of the sites where Amtrak maintains its fleet on the Northeast Corridor. Immediately after, the Hellgate Bridge is in sight, and crossing it gives some stunning views of the New York City skyline thanks to the amazing weather, undoubtedly my favourite part of the Northeast Corridor. What's yours? The tracks we're on now are owned by both the MTA and Connecticut Department of Transport in their respective areas between New York and New Haven, which is the primary reason for the longer journey times on the northern section from New York to Boston. Here, all trains, including our Acela, reach no more than 80 miles per hour on the faster segments. Now if that isn't next level high speed train travel, I don't know what is. As there isn't really much to see up to New Haven, let's take a look around the train. As mentioned earlier, business class is the lower of the two offers on the Acela and is separated by this blurred door here. This is laid out in a 2x2 configuration with a mixture of airline and table seats. The seats used here are the same as in first class, albeit with a blue headrest marker instead of the orangey red one in first, so there's not really much else to say about the comfort and features here. In car 9 at the front of the train is the quiet car, where talking and sounds on phones, laptops and other devices are to be kept to a minimum. At the front is the door which leads to the power car, which is of course locked out of use for passengers. One thing I'm glad Amtrak have kept on the NextGen Acela is the wheelchair accessible spaces in each carriage, each of which has an accompanying accessible toilet. As with the seats, the business class toilets are highlighted in blue whilst the first class ones are in red. As you can see, there aren't very many differences internally, with the exception of the toilet paper on the floor in the first class one. Unlike the older Acela, which features storage bins similar to aircraft's, the new Acela has the standard overhead luggage racks seen on most European trains, as well as larger racks next to the vestibule for larger items. I also took the opportunity to visit the cafe car whilst I was up. This is in car 6 and as you can see is significantly more modern than the older Acela. The menu, including a separate QR code, is shown on digital screens with manual ones just below, and the classic Amtrak trays are picked up just below the digital screens. Amtrak have also placed a grab and go station, which wasn't operational when I made this trip to reduce queues, but it should be coming soon once more NextGen Acela sets enter service, which is a great idea. Just M&Ms and a Coke for me this time, but despite all these changes, Amtrak has sadly not introduced seating areas, which I think is a missed opportunity, especially as most passengers will be travelling on this train for up to 2.5 or 3 hours. New Haven is at the end of the Metro North section of the Northeast Corridor, and is reached 2 hours after leaving New York City despite being 75 miles away. Thankfully, after we pass New London and cross the Thames River Bridge, we start to pick up speed as we continue through Connecticut towards Rhode Island. Before long, we enter the latter state and once again reach the 160 mph top speed of the new Acela, which we do for the majority of the remaining distance towards Boston. Our only stop in the state is Providence, where we join the MBTA commuter lines towards Boston. One thing I've never understood is why they use diesel locomotives instead of electric ones on this route, considering it's fully electrified. Please let me know in the comments if you know why. We're now on the home stretch towards Boston, and having received another hot towel from the attendant just before stopping in Route 128 Massachusetts, it's time to reflect. Whilst not perfect, I'm very pleased with Amtrak's NextGen Acela, and whilst it has taken a long time to get there, this train will no doubt bring a breath of fresh air to the Northeast Corridor in terms of modernity and comfort. I would say that the lack of seats in the cafe car was a massive oversight, and the poor recline on the seats, like on many European trains, isn't going to win it points over the old ones, but it's still a worthy replacement. It's just a shame that the infrastructure constraints on the Northeast Corridor limit its full potential, but hopefully this won't be an issue in the long run provided Amtrak's planned improvements go ahead. My ticket in first class cost me $254 for the full distance between Washington and Boston, which I booked several months in advance, whilst business class was $70. I don't think all the bells and whistles in first class really justify the massive premium over business, and the Acela is only really competitive with air travel on the Washington to New York segment, so any further north I would still recommend the cheaper Northeast Regional, a video of which will be coming soon to the channel. For now though, we arrive into Boston Back Bay Station, and a short 5 minutes later, we reach the end of the line up Boston South Station 12 minutes late. Now it's over to you. What did you think of Amtrak's NextGen Acela? Have you had a chance to try it yet, and how do you think it compares to the older generation? Let me know in the comments. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like and share it if you did to aid the channel's growth, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for more content such as this weekly. My first class ticket allows me to use the lounge here at Boston South too, so I've decided to chill here for a bit ahead of going to my next destination. Thanks so much for coming with me on this trip, and I look forward to bringing you with me on my next one.